dress on him, rather like a nightshirt without sleeves, and they put a thick wreath of London Pride on his head, and another larger and longer round his neck. "If only the chaps at school could see me now," he said to himself proudly. And by this time it was grey dawn. "Lie down now," said Blue Mantle. "Lie down, O beloved of the gods, upon the altar stone for the last time." "I shall be able to go then?" Quentin asked. This accidental magic was, he perceived, a tricky thing, and he wanted to be sure. "You will not be able to stay," said the priest. "If going is what you desire, the desire of the Chosen of the Gods is fully granted." The grass on the plain, far and near, rustled with the tread of many feet. The cold air of dawn thrilled to the awed murmur of many voices. Quentin lay down with his pink wreaths and his white robe, and watched the quickening pinkiness of the east. And slowly the great circle of the temple filled with white-robed folk, all carrying in their hands the faint pinkiness of the flowers which we nowadays call London Pride. And all eyes were fixed on the arch through which, at sunrise on Midsummer Day, the sun's first beam should fall upon the white, new, clean altar stone. The stone is still there, after all these thousands of years, and at sunrise on Midsummer Day the sun's first ray still falls on it. The sky grew lighter and lighter, and at last the sun peered redly over the down, and the first ray of the morning sunlight fell full on the altar stone and on the face of Quentin. And, as it did so, a very tall, white-robed priest, with a deerskin apron and a curious winged head-dress, stepped forward. He carried a great bronze knife, and he waved it 10 times in the shaft of sunlight that shot through the arch and on to the altar stone. "Thus," he cried, "thus do I bathe the sacred blade in the pure fountain of all light, all wisdom, all splendour. In the name of the 10 kings, the 10 virtues, the 10 hopes, the 10 fears, I make my weapon clean. May this temple of our love and our desire endure for ever, so long as the glory of our Lord the Sun is shed upon this earth. May the sacrifice I now humbly and proudly offer be acceptable to the gods by whom it has been so miraculously provided. Chosen of the gods, return to the gods who sent thee." A roar of voices rang through the temple. The bronze knife was raised over Quentin. He could not believe that this horror was the end of all these wonderful happenings. "No, no," he cried, "it's not true. I'm not the Chosen of the Gods. I'm only a little boy that's got here by accidental magic." "Silence!" cried the priest. "Chosen of the Immortals, close your eyes. It will not hurt. This life is only a dream. The other life is the real life. Be strong. Be brave." Quentin was not brave. But he shut his eyes. He could not help it. The glitter of the bronze knife in the sunlight was too strong for him. He could not believe that this could really have happened to him. Every one had been so kind, so friendly to him, and it was all for this. Suddenly a sharp touch at his side told him that for this indeed it had all been. He felt the point of the knife. "Mother!" he cried. and opened his eyes again. He always felt quite sure afterwards that mother was the master word, the spell of spells. For when he opened his eyes there was no priest, no white-robed worshippers, no splendour of colour and metal, no chosen of the gods, no knife. Only a little boy with a piece of sacking over him, damp with the night dews, lying on a stone amid the grey ruins of Stonehenge, and all about him a crowd of tourists who had come to see the sun's first shaft strike the age-old altar of Stonehenge on Midsummer Day in the morning. And instead of a knife point at his side, there was only the ferrule of the umbrella of an elderly and retired tea merchant in a mackintosh and an Alpine hat, a ferrule which had prodded the sleeping boy, so unexpectedly surprised on the very altar stone where the sun's ray now lingered. And then, in a moment, he knew that he had not uttered the spell in vain, the word of compelling, the word of power. For his mother was there, kneeling beside him. I am sorry to say that he cried as he clung to her. We cannot all of us be brave, always. The tourists were very kind and interested, and the tea merchant insisted on giving Quentin something out of a flask, which was so nasty that Quentin only pretended to drink out of politeness. His mother had a carriage waiting, and they escaped to it while the tourists were saying, "How romantic!" and asking each other whatever in the world had happened. "But how did you come to be there, darling?" said his mother, with warm hands comfortingly round him. "I've been looking for you all night. I went to say good bye to you yesterday. Oh, Quentin! And I found you'd run away. How could you?" "I'm sorry," said Quentin. "If it worried you, I'm sorry. Very, very. I was going to telegraph to day." "But where have you been? What have you been doing all night?" she asked, caressing him. "Is it only one night?" said Quentin. "I don't know exactly what's happened. It was accidental magic, I think, mother. I'm glad I thought of the right word to get back, though." And he told her all about it. She held him very tightly and let him talk. Perhaps she thought that a little boy to whom accidental magic happened all in a minute, like that, was not exactly the right little boy for that excellent school in Salisbury. Anyhow, she took him to Egypt with her to meet his father, and on the way they happened to see a doctor in London who said, "Nerves," which is a poor name for accidental magic, and Quentin does not believe it means the same thing at all. Quentin's father is well now, and he has left the army, and father and mother and Quentin live in a jolly little old house in Salisbury, and Quentin is a day boy at that very same school. He and Smithson Minor are the greatest of friends, but he has never told Smithson Minor about the accidental magic. He has learned now, and learned very thoroughly, that it is not always wise to tell all you know. If he had not owned that he knew that it was the Stonehenge altar stone. You may think that the accidental magic was all a dream, and that Quentin dreamed it because his mother had told him so much about Atlantis. But then, how do you account for his dreaming so much that his mother had never told him? You think that that part wasn't true. Well, it may have been true for anything I know, and I am sure you don't know more about it than I do. End of Story 3. Recording by Ruth Golding.